Joe Johnson, okay. So we're getting disrespectful right off the jump. You know the weirdest thing about Joe Johnson is that he's got 7 All-Star appearances, and some of them he averaged like 16 points a game, I'm pretty sure. Isn't he like the richest NBA player ever, or one of them? And assists both dropped immediately after he signed the mega deal. He shot 29% from 3 in 2011, jeez. Yeah, Joe Johnson was always an interesting case of a guy who was certainly good, but not up to that level, really. Maybe the 15th best player in the league or something like that. I would have to look at a list of players in the late 2000s, early 2010s, I guess. Gordon Hayward. Well, this one hurts, but I can understand. The thing is, it's not even really Hayward's fault. I mean, his leg snaps in half. Takes a whole year to get back. And now we've got this season. So he's got time to fix this. But even so, like, with the $34 million player option, which he's going to accept, of course, he's still good. And I think he's got a chance to be really, really good in these playoffs. The interesting thing will be his next contract. I mean, maybe he gets, I don't know, 21, 22 million a year if the Celtics were determined to keep him. I mean, they're going to get expensive pretty fast once they max out Tatum. So maybe somebody else would overpay for Hayward because, I mean, even if you pay a little too much, but he can still give you, 17, 18 a game, or maybe even back up to the 20s. That's a good player. Deron Williams for the Nets. Yeah, that one was pretty damn depressing. I mean, the conversation of D-Will versus Chris Paul, it was a real thing. And back when I was in high school, I was actually on Team Deron Williams. Now that I look back now, I think Chris Paul was always the better player, but it was a real conversation, and until it wasn't, pretty much. The Nets are still paying Williams nearly $5.5 million this year. He's 36 years old. Yeah, I think with him he was always just like a little too heavy, and then he had some injuries, and that was kind of it. He lost half a step, a full step, I don't know, and he just definitely wasn't the same guy anymore. Okay, Tyrese Thomas. Do we need to talk about Tyrese Thomas? All I remember is that he hit a couple of mid-rangers for the Bulls in a playoff series, and it was like, wait a minute, is this guy going to be good? And it never really happened. D-Wade was only there one season, though. Is that really that bad? Oh, it was a buyout. Okay, yeah, then that's rough. Alright, I thought it was a team option on the second year or something. Okay, so they effectively paid him for 2 years for 1 year. Yeah, that's not ideal. I always think about this with that Bulls team, because it was after this that they decided to trade Jimmy Butler, and it's like, could they have just kept Jimmy? I mean, I know they had cap space. I feel like they could have maintained being a pretty good team. And now there's reports that they might not fire Jim Boylan. Ooh, we don't like that. We definitely do not like that. So we'll see what they end up doing. J.R. Smith in Cleveland. I mean, that's one of the dudes LeBron got paid. Yeah, keeping a championship team together can be costly. 4 years, 57. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Like, when LeBron is on your team, you have to sacrifice draft picks, young players, and cap space. Which means a guy like J.R. Smith is going to get paid more than he deserves, pretty much. I mean, it ended up being 3 years, 45, but that's still a lot. The remainder of his guaranteed salary through the 2022 season. It's always an interesting thing of whether you should ever really buy someone out. Because, I mean, yeah, you get them off the team and you save money in the moment, but in the long term, like, your salary cap is just lower than everybody else's, and I think that's a huge disadvantage to have. Brendan Haywood in Dallas. This one's similar to Tyrese Thomas. I don't think we really need to talk about it. Although 6 years and only having 2 years, that's pretty wild. I mean, nowadays, well, we don't even have 6-year contracts anymore. And if it's a 5-year, then isn't it a rookie extension on like your star player? So yeah, that's just how the NBA has changed. I assume Dallas signed him because they wanted more of a physical center next to Dirk. They kind of wanted that a lot. The only one who ended up really being it was Tyson Chandler. Al Harrington on the Nuggets. I don't remember Al Harrington in Denver that much, to be honest. I definitely remember him in New York and the Warriors. I guess you could say that Harrington was a little ahead of his time as a 4 who could shoot threes and create and run the floor a bit. I guess if he played today, maybe he'd have a little more of a place in the league, but even then, he had a long career. He put up a decent amount of points. He, of course, has that one clip of Paul Pierce making a 3 in his face that every Celtics fan knows about. Oh boy, Josh Smith, yeah. Not only is this the worst for the Pistons, this might be the worst of the decade. It could be. I mean, we'll have to see what the other ones are, but I mean, looking back on it now, like 4 years, 54, it doesn't look as bad because the salary cap was lower, but this is effectively like summer of 2017 Mozgov, Luol Deng type contract. He was the 8th highest paid player in Detroit, even though he hasn't played for the team since 2014. I mean, hey, shout out to Josh Smith, you know? Doing nothing but still making a comfortable living. That's the dream right there, man. Caught between forward positions, Smith possessed all the athleticism and highlights a team could ask for, but he only shot blah from 3. I feel like once Josh Smith ended up in Detroit, he wasn't even that athletic anymore. Like, maybe he could still finish a dunk, but in terms of straight line athleticism, changing direction and all that, he wasn't the same guy, you know? Like, early on in his career, he showed a lot of signs of being another Shawn Marion type player, but by the time he got to the Pistons, I feel like that was kind of completely dead. Wait, hold on. Andre Iguodala for the Warriors in 2017? Hold on. Bleacher Report's trying to insult me right now. So they're talking about his second contract. He averaged 6 points, 4 boards, 3 assists, 1 steals from 2017 and 2019 while earning $30 million. And then it became the sign and trade for D'Angelo Russell, which then turned into getting the Wolves pick along with Andrew Wiggins. I don't know, man. I think for that team specifically, with how thin they were outside of their top 4 dudes, I don't totally agree, especially because Iguodala still turned it up when he needed to. Conference finals and the finals, so yeah, I'm not gonna speak ill of my guy Iguodala, who granted is not that great in Miami anymore, but eventually it was gonna happen. But I don't think the last couple of years were bad for him and the Warriors. So Chris Paul in Houston, that's an interesting one. I mean, we know what happened. The chemistry between CP and Harden eventually fell out, but you know, that first year was so good and the second year was still pretty damn good. But even so, it certainly didn't go the way you'd want it. It's an interesting thing, like what really happened between these two. I mean, we all saw the argument they had, or whatever it was, I don't remember exactly, in the playoffs at one point. If you do some Googling, it seems that CP was really annoyed that Harden didn't move when he didn't have the ball. I don't know, man. And then the Rockets gave up a whole bunch of picks, and, well, we'll have to see in the postseason, but they certainly haven't gotten significantly better yet with Westbrook over Chris Paul. Pacers, Monta Ellis. Yeah, Monta got bad really quick. Like, he went from a dude who could give you 17, 18, whatever, to, like, 9, and he wasn't good on defense, so suddenly he became the worst player in the NBA. Clippers, Spencer Hawes. Didn't Hawes, he was like exciting in Sacramento a little bit, and then he just fell off really quickly. I remember Doc, this was one of the poster moves for like Doc, president of basketball operations, doesn't work, if I remember correctly. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, they signed him to play next to Blake and DJ, and, well, kind of weird. Luol Deng for the Lakers. Yep, this one was bad. I mean, really, you could just have a toss-up between this and Mozgov. We saw what the Lakers wanted to do. They wanted to get some veterans to help out their young guys, but it's like, for that much money and for those many years, like, that was just weird. Like, 4 years, $72 million. Like, I think we all would have been fine with, like, a 2-year, you know, $30 million type of thing, but, you know, the salary cap just, it went up like crazy, and teams, they gave a whole bunch of money to okay players. Chandler Parsons, yeah, this one's rough. This one's similar to Similar to the Hayward one, where it's not necessarily the guy's fault, you just can't actually get out there. Even so, that's a lot of money. I mean, $95 million, and we're talking, this is back in 2016, so the cap had the cap gone up? Was it about to go up? I don't remember exactly. Dion Waiters in Miami. I feel like Miami's made a couple of bad signings. Is Dion the one? I mean, yeah, I was about to say James Johnson, Tyler Johnson. It's kind of up for debate, but I guess you could say that Dion was the one. But even so, at least Dion balled out for him when they went from like 9-30 to 41-41 or whatever it was. Dellavedova. How much money did the Bucks give Dellavedova? Was this really their worst contract signing? I mean, I would give it to the Ilyasova deal just because it made you lose out on signing Brogdon. 4 years, $38 million. That's a lot of money for a point guard who can barely dribble and can't beat anybody off the bounce. The funniest thing about Dellavedova was in the playoffs against whoever with the Cavs, he had an alley-oop to Tristan Thompson that was successful, and since then, every single time he ran a screen, he always threw the lob without even thinking about anything that was going on. He just decided beforehand, I'm going to throw an alley-oop regardless of anything else going on. Nikola Pekovic. Dude, Pekovic was a monster. He's legitimately 300 pounds. Look how much bigger he was than Marc Gasol. But, I think he just couldn't support that much weight over a long-term thing in the NBA. Yeah, it makes sense. His foot and his ankle, while being, again, legit 300 pounds, yeah, it kind of makes sense that that's going to happen. Solomon Hill. Yeah, the Pelicans paid Solomon Hill because he had, like, an okay shooting series, and it's similar to the Luol Deng thing. Like, you can understand getting a guy who could be an okay rotation dude for you. Although Solomon Hill just kind of sucks, if we're being honest, but, like, damn, dude, 4 years for that? This is similar to the Magic, who just gave Aminu like 4 years. Like, come on, man, you don't gotta go that wild. Joakim Noah to the Knicks. Yeah, this one was pretty ugly. He had just come off of his worst year with the Bulls, had some injury troubles. I feel like the Knicks thought they were getting another Tyson Chandler, but they just got Alex Len, Andre Robertson, OKC. Yeah, hopefully he's healthy. I mean, if he can play, then he is a good player. And that is a good contract for him. I mean, $10 million. He's managed to be a positive in OKC without having any resemblance of a jump shot. Bismack Biyombo, yep. This is a classic 2017 contract, if I remember right. Or 2016. No, it's 2016 playoffs. So yeah, the 2017 offseason. Again, all that money for a center who is just a run, jump, and dunk guy. My guy Al Horford with Philly. Yeah, it hurts to read, but it's probably the right answer. I mean, 4 years, 109. We all acknowledge that Philly's offense probably wasn't going to be amazing this year, but we all thought it was going to be better, and I think we all liked the idea of Horford at power forward, right? He's been a good three-point shooter past couple seasons, still a good passer. You'd figure he'd have an easier time defending power forwards, which that one might be true, depending on the day. But it just hasn't totally happened. Brandon Knight in Phoenix, didn't he have a torn ACL? Like, he was okay before he tore his ACL. Yeah, 20 points, 5 assists. Well, that's per 36. Yeah, the torn ACL was the thing. I mean, I don't know if Brandon Knight was ever really a starting point guard, but he could have at least had a solid NBA career, 20-something minutes a game, make some threes. Kind of like a Jeff Teague type of dude. Like, depending on the team, he might find himself as a long-term starter. Alan Crabb in Portland. Man, what happened to Alan Crabb? Like, yeah, he was overpaid to hell, but he was a good three-point shooter for a few years, and now he's, like, not all of a sudden. That's a lot of money, though. 4 years, 75. Can't we thank the Brooklyn Nets for this because they had the offer sheet? Yeah, while teams typically match offer sheets, this is one the Blazers should have let go. Yeah, 100%. Once again, just weird moves in the last few years that have taught us you don't need to break the bank for like 10 points a game role players, unless it's Iguodala and you're the Warriors and you have no other options. And you don't need to break the bank on centers. We're going to stop looking at this Alan Crabb picture now. Sacramento Kings, Zebo. Yeah, this one was bad. It was immediately a bad fit. He just destroyed the spacing. Like, he just held the team back for a whole season. See, but they're even being nice. Like, they're saying averaging 15 and 7 as a starter for the Kings in 2018. Like, I'm saying that wasn't even good. Because again, like, he was essentially a brick wall stopping them from being able to run or drive inside, all that stuff. Tiago Splitter. Hey, Tiago was decent. Tiago Splitter was a nice player. Maybe for not that much money, but he was a nice player for a moment. Damari Carroll. I remember this one. Toronto thought they were getting themselves a guy who could defend LeBron. And they learned that nobody was going to stop LeBron. Ed Davis in Utah. I guess if that's your worst one, it's not bad. Not really their worst one. They've had to have had something bad. And now to finish it out, we got John Wall. Yep. We'll have to see if he can still be decent. I mean, it's an overpay. But if he can still be a good player, then it's not as bad, you know what I mean? So we'll just have to see if he can do it, but 4 years, 170, man. That's a lot of money.